Welcome to Friday Morning Dharma. I was just visiting with the folks here in person attending and let them know that some generous benefactor donated a copy of the book that we're going to be using for our study and practice of the 21 Lam Rim meditations, the new meditation handbook. So the brand new copy available here at Lotus Center, if you're in need of one. Um, if you are in need of one and would like it, let me know. I'll contact our shipping department and we can make arrangements to mail it out to you. I'm also told that they have a copy at Avalon Books here in Silver City too. So a couple of copies. If you haven't gotten your copy yet, please know that there are at least two available in Silver City. Um, Let me know if I can help facilitate you coming into possession of one of those copies. Um, why don't we go ahead and start with some meditation? Please settle into a comfortable meditation posture. Hmm. As always, as always, it can be a good idea to emulate the mountain as you settle into your meditation posture. Balanced, grounded, stable, silently observing without expectation, without judgment. As a means of helping you settle into a meditative space, a meditative state, please feel free to mount the mantra rest, relax, allow upon your breath. On the inhalation, silently recite to yourself the word rest. At the top of the inhalation, relax. Exhale, allow. Please now gently transition into meditation on the inner body. Please become the silent observer of sensations that may start in your hands and your feet. Those sensations may travel into the region of your chest, perhaps into your face and your cheeks. All that is asked of you is to silently observe. Doing so will allow a more tranquil, supple, awakened state of awareness to emerge. If you are beyond all grasping at an object and grasping at a subject, that is the monarch of all views. If there is no distraction, it is the monarch among all meditations. If there is no effort, that is the monarch of conduct. When there is no hope and no fear, that is the final result, and the fruition has been attained or revealed. Just continue to silently observe like a mountain with consciousness. If you rest in this, you will be liberated from the prison of samsara. If you rest evenly within this, all of your wrongdoing and obscurations will be burned. This is called, for those reasons, the torch of the doctrine. Now please gently redirect your awareness. Become aware again of your physical body and allow your breathing to become less shallow. Taking deeper and deeper breaths, become aware again of the garments of clothing resting on the surface of your physical body. Become aware again of your surroundings inside the room that you're occupying. Deeper and deeper breaths, becoming aware again of the world that exists outside of the room that you're occupying. We dedicate all of the merit from this morning's meditation to world peace. May all beings without exception soon come to enjoy an abundance of pure air and water, delicious, nutritious food, safe, warm, dry, reliable, affordable shelter, and comfortable, functional, attractive clothing. And with everyone's basic needs met, may we all enter and progress on wisdom paths that lead to complete liberation from all forms of suffering. Completely fill up your belly and lungs with air, and when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your meditation to an end. Thank you. Couple of excerpts that I recited this morning were from the Ganges Mahamudra. So we are continuing our teachings, our exploration of the Four Noble Truths. And we are on the first noble truth, which is you should know suffering. And I sort of gave some examples, for better or worse, on Monday of ways that I have come to know suffering, suffering of hair loss, the suffering of hair growth, some of these experiences. And it's getting to know our suffering will be, I think, something that will be a part of our path, a part of our practice, probably for the rest of this life, getting to know it, deepening our knowing of it. And there is there's kind of a ground zero, kind of a starting point for this that I've found. And it is, it's a movement that takes place as we move from, this notion that aging sucks, sickness sucks. I think that's the kind of a fairly common, maybe we could call it worldly approach toward our suffering. Aging sucks. Sickness sucks. How we can start to move off of that really is to arrive at the recognition through meditation, through contemplation, through familiarizing ourselves with the first noble truth, you should know suffering, is that it's not really sickness that sucks. It's the mind that experiences pain over sickness that sucks, right? That's what's to be renounced. It's not aging that sucks. It's the mind that experiences pain over aging. You know, I was watching a movie. I was watching a movie the other night. It was a story about the Dalai Lama. I've seen it before, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. Martin Scorsese movie called Kundun. Kundun. Yeah. And, Dalai Lama in Tibet. The movie is, I don't know if it was actually filmed in Tibet, but a place that looked a lot like Tibet with Tibetan looking people. And, you know, Tibet was a how would we say, a kind of undeveloped country, a pretty raw country. They lived on the land, they lived with the land. There weren't a lot of fancy accessories, not many shiny things, and not much. I don't know if they had sunscreen. It didn't look like it. Years and years of being in the sun at elevation of 17,000 feet, like people living at 17,000 feet, some of them. Just can't even wrap my head around that. And, you know, these things that we Westerners might call, that we might call blemishes to our appearance, like wrinkles, like some of these Tibetan people, elders, like they were old and very wrinkled, very deep wrinkles. And they were so beautiful, so amazingly beautiful. I'm sure some of us have seen, maybe no personally, or seen images of Native Americans, kind of the same way, really deep wrinkles with like leathery skin, and they're so beautiful. Yeah. Why am I talking about this? Because it's the mind that says aging sucks, right? And that's the mind that we want to overcome, not aging itself and sickness itself, because as long as we're in this form, we're going to experience these things. Yeah. So I want to kind of double down on my appeal to you to make this exploration of suffering, getting to know your suffering, a personal experience. Kind of personalize it and get to know and just see the ways that you experience it. You know, um, there are there are standard teachings in Buddhist doctrine that we can follow and go by, and they're very helpful. It's one thing about Buddhism in general and Tibetan Buddhism in particular is that they provide a very structured approach to the Dharma, right? And we can follow that structure should we choose to, you know, 7 forms of human suffering, right? Well, we can start with 4, really, for our aging, sickness, death, rebirth. Aging, sickness, death, rebirth in this cycle. We can add on some others. Aging, sickness, having to encounter what we don't like, being separated from what we do like, failing to satisfy our desires, death, rebirth, and then repeat it over and over. Yeah. We perfectly valid and even wise for us to get to know our suffering within that structured framework. And it's a good thing for us to personalize, right? To personalize our getting to know our suffering, right? Let's not intellectualize it, the suffering of humanity, the history of suffering, the academics of suffering. No, get to know your own suffering in an intimate way. And you know what I've been thinking about? I've been, heard this many times over the course of my spiritual life. And, you know, I think it's probably safe to say that everybody participating in this class in person and via Zoom are in it, like are here on this path or on a path because you want to improve yourselves. We want to improve ourselves. We want to become better people, whatever that means to each of us individually, right? We want to grow in spirit. Maybe those words resonate with you, maybe they don't. But if we're on a path, we want to change something, I think, and we want to change it for the better. And what I would invite you all to remember, invite us all to remember, is that my personal experience, maybe yours too, is that personal growth for me has never come through things going exactly the way I want them to go. You know, you know, money's good, the relationships are good, the health is good. What's not to like about samsara? Everything is great. You know, the growth has come when things kind of came off the rails. And let's say the real growth, like the exponential growth occurred. There's kind of a proportionate relationship to how, air quotes, badly things go and how much I have grown from those things going badly. Direct correlation there. You know, maybe that's your experience. If so, I would invite you to contemplate that. And I'm bringing this up just another example for what it's worth to you, maybe worth a lot, maybe worth not much, to personalize this, to personalize your exploration of getting to know suffering, the first noble truth. In the last couple of minutes we have left, I want to tell you a little story about my dad, and I necessarily have to make it an abridged version of his life story, an amazing life story. My dad, born and raised in a small town in Wyoming, Midwest Wyoming. Yeah, not a region. That's the name of the town, Midwest Wyoming. And when he was, I think, a boy, the family moved to the metropolis of Buffalo, Wyoming. Um, my dad had really bright young person, bright man, got out, educated, and became an accomplished kind of renowned ear surgeon. Um, his humility was remarkable. Maybe I'll be able to finish this before 9. It's just there's so many beautiful stories to tell about him. I just can't barely bring myself to not address him. But he was an ear, nose, and throat doctor, and then at one point changed his practice just to otology, just being an ear practitioner, working strictly with the ears. But when he was an ENT guy, I came home and kids at school had told me that the part of the human ears, the only part of the two parts of the human body that never stop growing are the feet and the ears, right? And I went home and I said, Dad, I want to tell you, I want to teach you something about human anatomy, right? Did you know that the human ears never stop growing? You know, and you know, he could have said, let me tell you something. Your friends don't know what they're talking about. That's true. And I should know, I'm ear, otologist, blah, blah, blah. He could have said that. All he said to me was, all he said to me was, they didn't teach that in medical school. All he said. Such beautiful humility. Anyways, my dad goes through, gets into his later years of life, develops ALS, develops amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And most people respond the same way when they hear that. It's like the worst of the worst. It's just cringe, just so painful to even think about. And my dad was in a hospital in Tucson, totally incapacitated. And his existence at this point consisted of watching golf on TV, completely immobilized, couldn't move any part of his body. He could move his eyes and he could move his vocal cords a little bit. His days, day after day, consisted of watching golf on television and soiling himself. And so I stopped by to visit one time and went to see him in Tucson, and his wife was there, his Honduran wife, and I got discouraged by what I was seeing, and I said, "You guys, we can do better than this." My dad at some point later in his life became an evangelical Christian, and I said, let's get you a book on tape. Let's get you some audio books you can listen to. So something besides watching golf hour after hour. And I said, we'll get you a copy of the Bible. We'll get you a copy of the Bible. And what version of the Bible do you want, Dad? We'll get that. And here's where you can find it and download it. And this is the device you can play it on. And here's how we pay for it. Saying this to him and his wife. And okay, everybody understand this is the way forward? Everybody got it? Good. So I leave, come back to Silver City, return a couple of weeks later, none of it had been done. No device, no Bible, none of. And I got a little bit frustrated and I said, you guys, what happened? I thought we had a plan. And my dad is able to motion me over to talk to him. And he has one of those devices that you touch up against your vocal cords. Have you seen these things? So people who are incapable of talking can orate, right? And and I put it up to his vocal cords, and he says, Jeff, this may be difficult for you to understand. He said, but I lead a very rich life. He said, I'm not wanting for anything. Wow. You should know suffering. The advice of the Buddha, we should know suffering because that's where the growth comes from. From our getting to know suffering and our changing our approach to it. Have a good weekend, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
You're most welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.
What is